Representative Vogel, do you have a motion?
Yes, Mr. Chair. I'd like to move House File 1969 for possible inclusion.
Representative Vogel moves House File 1969 for possible inclusion in a later bill. Representative Vogel, to your bill.
Thank you. House File 1969 provides for legislative approval of any proposed housing plan developed by the Metropolitan Council before it would take effect. It further provides the council must submit the negotiated affordable and life cycle housing goals for legislative action before they can be adopted. And finally, in determining the affordable and life cycle housing opportunities amount, the council would need to report by March 15th the estimated amounts for each municipality. The reasoning behind the bill is to have elected official oversight for any housing policy plans which the municipalities in the 7-county area would be expected to follow. This bill is not about the contents of any housing plan. It creates an opportunity for state legislators to meet and confer with locally elected officials about any housing plan that may be drafted before it could be implemented. It is intended to give an elected body, the legislature, an opportunity to intervene if necessary. It would help to ensure that locally elected officials have sufficient input into any plans which could interfere with their ability to serve their local community while still staying consistent with a wider metropolitan area. And I have today with me Kim Crockett, who would like to chat a little bit about the procedure itself.
Welcome to the committee. Please state your name for the record.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm Kim Crockett with Center of the American Experiment. We are a nonprofit policy organization here in the state of Minnesota. I'm here in that capacity today, but also wanted to let you know that I'm a former city councilwoman where I worked on my comprehensive plan, including some housing issues. The Center of the American Experiment has studied the Met Council off and on for many years, and we recently took a careful look at Thrive 2040. It's a long-term plan for the metro region in some detail, including the draft housing plan. My main point for you today is that housing is not a system like wastewater treatment or metro transit that the legislature has authorized the Met Council to manage or plan for in the metro area. Nonetheless, the council came up with a very detailed, rather large housing plan for the metro area. The council, the Met Council itself, discussed that problem while drafting the housing plan and even asked for clarification from its legal counsel about its authority to expand its reach into housing at the local level. It was told by its legal counsel that the legislature had not authorized the council to treat housing as a system. It does have duties under the Livable Communities Act of 1995, but participation in that program is voluntary on the part of cities. Nonetheless, the council proceeded to draft that detailed housing plan for Thrive 2040, and it relied on weaving together its authority for transit and wastewater systems to advance a vision of what's called transit-oriented development for the metro area. In doing so, it is the center's position that local elected officials with boots on the ground knowledge of their communities and development needs have been disenfranchised. What House File 1969 helps to accomplish is reasserting the prerogative of the legislature in the area of housing. It essentially throws a lifeline to local elected officials in cities and counties who are left without meaningful authority over their communities that they were elected to represent in vital development and long-term planning matters. I'll conclude by saying that the Met Council is a formidable agency that is in the position to impose its vision for metro area cities and counties on our citizens without their buy-in or representation from their elected officials. And that is why the center is supporting House File 1969. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you, Ms. Crockett. And usually
You're
what we do is we make sure we get all public testimony, and then you'll be available for questions afterwards.
Sure.
Representative Vogel, do you have any other invited testifiers?
I did, but I'm thinking that because we moved a little quicker, she is not here yet, so.
Okay, well then, do you have any other invited testifiers before I go to public comment?
No.
Okay, if your testifier shows up, we'll just have them testify
Thank
at
you.
that point. This is a public hearing. Are there any members of the public who wish to testify in favor or voice concerns with the bill? Come on down. Hi, welcome to the committee. Please state your name for the record.
Thank you. Mr. Chair and members, my name is Patricia Nauman. I'm the Executive Director of Metro Cities. We are a member-based organization that represents cities across the 7-county metropolitan area before both the legislature and the Metropolitan Council. I wanted to express some concerns that we have with House File 1969. While Metro Cities does support broad legislative oversight of the Metropolitan Council, and we also have several policies that relate specifically to the work of the council, our concerns are that this bill would in effect add yet another layer of statutory requirement and authority over an issue right now, housing, that is not a regional system in statute. By adding legislative approval, we believe actually gives more weight to something that is now both, is something that is really local and regional. The housing goals that are referenced in this bill as well are goals that cities do voluntarily work on with the Metropolitan Council in order to be eligible for grant programs. These programs are funded with local property tax dollars. They are not state dollars. And we do believe that these are, again, primarily issues that should be decided at the local level and not have additional legislative oversight or authority. So with that, I would conclude my comments and would be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. This is a public hearing. Are there other members of the public who wish to testify in favor or voice concerns with the bill?
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. My name is Judd Shetton. I'm the Government Affairs Director for the Metropolitan Council, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak on House File 1969. And the council...
Mr. Shetton, I just want to be clear. Are you still one of the 10 hottest people at the Capitol, according to City Pages magazine?
Mr. Chair, I think that there was a misprint, and I'm sure that that is not the case.
I agree. I think it was a
Okay,
misprint.
good.
Absolutely. Mr. Shetton, please continue with your testimony.
Well, that's great, because now I got to... Yeah, I guess. Well, Mr. Chair and members, the council does have some concern about the bill, and we come at it from a couple angles. We are first a little bit concerned about where this legislation is coming from. We have not heard from cities. We have not heard from folks that have asked for these changes to be made. In Section 1 of the bill, it says that the legislature has to pass something to plan or plan element related to housing, regardless of the council's action to adopt it. And what this really does, it severely limits the council's ability to follow through on other statutory responsibilities we have in Chapter 473. We have responsibilities regarding the Land Planning Act, where we work with cities to prepare comprehensive plans, system statements. I think Ms. Nauman from Metro Cities pointed that out pretty well. I also think that with Ms. Crockett's comments related to housing is not a system, and we agree with that. And I also agree with what Ms. Nauman said, is that if you were to pass this, you make housing more of a system than what it is today. And so I think that you may be having the opposite effect of what you're trying to do here. Relating to Section 2 of the bill, it says that a law needs to be enacted annually to approve negotiated affordable and life cycle housing goals. Well, currently the council negotiates these goals with communities when they want to participate in the Livable Communities program. And we do this every 10 years. We did the last ones in 2010 between 2011 and 2020, and it'll again happen in 2020 for the following decade. And the council negotiates this with cities, and in the last cycle, we included cities and housing advocates as we went ahead and prepared these goals. And we had many of the cities who we don't see here testifying in favor of this bill participating in that. So that is just a little bit concerning on our end as well. And since these goals are already legislatively laid out, why is this new legislative approval necessary? I think that's a question that the committee should ask itself. And the formula for determining the affordable life cycle housing opportunity amount, which is obviously a lot to say here, is already defined in statute again. So we are unclear what Section 3 of the bill really is intending to do. Just to wrap it up here, this bill, if it passed, number one, it does create more of housing as a system than what we have today. These approvals or potential delays have the ability to significantly delay other work that the council has to perform. And again, we are not sure what Section 3 of the bill does. But my other question, and Mr. Chair and members, is that we've had significant conversation related to the Met Council, the Thrive Plan, housing goals, other things in the Government Operations Committee, and also in Representative Runbeck's subcommittee. And this bill does not have a Senate companion. It is way beyond the deadlines, and so we are just interested in trying to figure out, what the next step is for this bill, and if it would be more appropriate to send it back to those committees so we have a chance to have that conversation in those committees that clearly have jurisdiction over a broader Met Council activity. So with that, I'm happy to take any questions, but we're also happy to talk to any cities that are bringing this forward, but we haven't been had any conversation with anyone at this point because they haven't brought anything forward. So no offense to Representative Vogel, but we can't support this bill.
Thank you, Mr. Shetton. And just from a process standpoint, clearly if this bill were to move forward, it would need to be, action would need to be taken by the Government Operations Committee. So how that could take place, there's various ways that could take place, but it would need to go through Government Operations. Questions for, and thank you, Mr. Shetton. You'll be around for questions from members? Okay.
Thank you.
Are there any other members of the public who wish to testify in favor or voice concerns with the bill? Mr. Vogel, is your testifier here yet or not?
Doesn't appear to be. So.
Okay, so what we'll do is, if and when your testifier shows up, we'll have them come down and testify, but with the exception of that, we'll close public testimony now and move to member questions and comments. Representative Mahoney.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. Your answer to Mr. Shetland was actually my question, and this seemed to be a little out of sync in how the process should be working with the Committee on Metropolitan Council and Government Operations and everything else, and just wondering where this bill was going from here and how it would resurrect itself after deadlines like this. But I think you've answered that. So,
Well, I thought you were going to bring up my point about him being one of the top 10 best-looking people according to City Pages. I thought you were talking about that question. Okay, now I understand. But yes,
well, I thought your CA was kind of in wasn't he listed in? No, never mind.
So Representative Mahoney, just to be clear, the Representative Sanders Committee would need to take positive action on this language before it could be on the floor. So questions or comments from members of the committee? Representative Hortman?
Representative Scott and I probably have the same question. We were wondering where we could get the list.
Normally, Mr. Chair.
Representative Scott.
Normally, Mr. Chair, when a document is spoken of in committee, we have a copy of it before the committee members.
Okay. Well, we will. We'll get that available for members of the committee for the evening session. Then. Well, Representative Mahoney. Oh, I'm so glad we're on TV today. This is great. Okay. So, questions or comments from members of the committee? Okay, Representative Vogel, any closing comments?
No, other than I believe it's a good bill that will allow local influence on the comp plan process to be done in a more efficient, effective way, and would appreciate the moving the bill on to the next step.
With that, Representative Vogel renews his motion to have House File 1969 laid over for possible inclusion in a later bill. Thank you.